as you know, Australia's peak scientific body, invented Wi-Fi. We'll let it go first and then clawed it back. I was privileged to be able to create, sort of incubate a Proptech, and that was acquired by the CSIRO. And part of that was being then part of their team for Come Together that brings everything together. And so I'm really excited to be able to bring the CSIRO into this conversation. And some of the work that the Energy Division is doing is incredibly exciting. I no longer work with them. I've been out of the pod for about 3 years. But I'm very excited to introduce Melissa James. So she's an experimental scientist, and I really would love to have that title, don't you? And what they're working on is some of the big solutions that we're going to need to identify and upgrade residential property, the big mess of residential property. And it's a big ugly mess because there's nothing standard about it, and we're talking about existing homes. And so all of the smarts in CSIRO who created the engine room, that the thermal performance rating, NATAs, for all our new homes as part of the National Construction Code, they're bringing together all sorts of yummy data sets that you could only wish to get your hands on into new configurations, and working with entrepreneurs in the space as well.
Team. And thanks Proptech for inviting me to come to talk about rapid rate today. It's a tool that quickly rates. Housing is central to all our lives. I don't really need to tell you this. We live in it, we buy it, we sell it, we rent it out, we invest in it, we build it, and we renovate it. In making decisions about housing, we need information about all sorts of things. Increasingly, one piece of information that influences our decisions is the energy efficiency of housing. Energy efficient housing uses less energy, it reduces greenhouse gas emissions, and it also has lower energy bills. They're also more comfortable to live in and healthy. For every dollar saved in energy, there's $12 saved in health, according to a recent Victorian study. Energy efficient housing also can attract a premium for both sales and rental. But the availability of information about the energy efficiency of dwellings is patchy. So rapid rate, I'm going to tell you about rapid rate, which can help to address that. First of all, I'll give a bit of background, then I will introduce the rapid rate tool. I'll talk about how it was developed and also how you might use it. So first, background. New housing is subject to regulation to make sure that it meets a minimum standard of energy efficiency, and the Australian Building Codes Board oversees the National Construction Code. And since about the year 2000, the Construction Code has included energy efficiency requirements for new dwellings and major renovations. So when you're planning a new build or a major renovation, you need to demonstrate that it's going to meet the minimum energy efficiency standard in order to get approval to build. There are a number of ways to demonstrate this. There are a number of ways to demonstrate this, but 80% of new builds use the Nationwide House Energy Rating Scheme, or NATAs, to demonstrate compliance. NATAs is administered by the Australian Government, and it rates a house plan out of 10 stars. The current national minimum standard is 6 stars, and this is going to raise to 7 stars next year. NATAs accredits 4 tools which are used by assessors to rate the energy efficiency of a dwelling. To do this rating, all the details of the dwelling are entered from the plan. Every room, every wall, floor, roof, window, all the materials, the orientation of the building and the shading that occurs. There are lots of inputs, thousands, and it takes quite a long time to put all this information in, about 2 hours, and training is needed to use these tools. The tools generate a certificate that shows the star rating that's been achieved, and lots of other information too. And this NATA certificate can be used to prove that you've met the minimum standard and get building approval. One of the 4 tools, Accurate, is a CSIRO tool, and it's the benchmark against which the other accredited tools are accredited. All 4 tools incorporate CSIRO's Cheneth engine, and Cheneth is a physics-based model that models the flow of heat through a building depending on how it's constructed and the climate that it sits within and how it's oriented. And it works out the energy required to keep a comfortable temperature in the house. This translates to a star rating. The physics-based model provides a good estimate, which is appropriate for new build regulation where accuracy is important. But it is time-consuming, as mentioned, and it requires expertise and many inputs. There are situations where you want an energy efficiency assessment, but only limited data is available, or you don't have the expertise to do that detailed assessment, or a quick rating is needed. And this is where rapid rate comes in. I'll just note here that from the NatHERS certificate data, it's collected by CSIRO. This is important because the rapid rate tool model is trained using that data, and this means that rapid rate is aligned with NatHERS. So next I'll introduce the rapid rate tool. Rapid rate is a model that's developed using machine learning techniques. It provides an estimate of the heating and cooling load and a star rating. It requires much fewer inputs. There are 12 main inputs that go into it, and generates the 3 outputs mentioned. It's quick to do, and it doesn't require special training. And as mentioned, the data used to train rapid rate comes from the NatHERS physics-based assessments, and this means that the rapid rate results are aligned with NatHERS. Although they're aligned, rapid rate could not be a replacement for the NatHERS tools because it couldn't be used for regulatory purposes where a more accurate rating is required. You might find that a bit difficult to see, but this is the current prototype rapid rate user interface. It doesn't look flash, but this gives you an idea that there's not a lot of inputs. It's just one page. It's a single page web-based user interface. And you can enter the details of a single dwelling into that page, hit the button and get back the star rate, estimated star rating and heating and cooling load. This is for a single dwelling, but we're also working on enabling rapid rate to do batch processing, where you might have a whole number of dwellings and you've got the information about that, and you can get back ratings for a multiple number of dwellings. Now, if we try and look a little bit closer, you can see what the inputs are. They include postcode, and that gives a reflection of the type of weather that the house sits within, which is very important for energy, for heating and cooling. The NCC class, which is whether it's a house or apartment, basically. The floor areas, the external wall area at each orientation, and the windows at each orientation, total area, and whether they're double glazed or not. Going further down the page, you also need to enter the main construction types for the external walls, the roof and the floors, and also the insulation level in those as well. Also the roof colour, because that has an impact. So you hit submit and you get back an estimate of star rating, heating and cooling load. So this prototype rapid rate user interface connects via an API to the rapid rate models, which sit behind it and do the work. The API can be used to connect the models to whatever interface or system needs to use it. Next, I'm going to talk a bit about how rapid rate was developed. As mentioned, it was developed using machine learning techniques, and a fairly standard methodology for machine learning development was used. First of all, training data was prepared, then it was used to train the model. Some of that data was kept aside so it could be unseen and used to evaluate and test the model. then further improvement possibilities were identified and the process was repeated. We've done about sort of 4 rounds of development, starting from just a proof of concept, and we've sort of tried to improve it along the way. We're at a reasonable stage at this point. We'll take a closer look at the data that was used to train RapidRate. As we touched on earlier, when a new house is being designed and assessed to see if it complies with the NCC energy efficiency minimum standard, 80% of houses use NatHERS. So there's about 180,000 or so houses per year that would be doing a NatHERS assessment. And this data is being collected by CSIRO, and it forms the basis for the machine learning for RapidRate. The database it's a SQL database. It consists of 23 linked tables of information, and currently we've got data from about 1 million houses, and we've been collecting it since 2016. And this is the data that's used to train the RapidRate models. And again, I'll just emphasise that this means that RapidRate is aligned with NatHERS because it's using the data out of NatHERS to train its model. To prepare the training data, this relational structure of data needs to be squished down into a flat structure so that there's one record for each dwelling. And so that means there's a lot of selecting data, grouping it, aggregating and pivoting it to get it into that shape. To train the model, there are a number of different machine learning techniques were trialled. We trialled neural networks, random forest and XGBoost, and we found that XGBoost gave us the best results. We used K-fold, I don't know if this is of interest, but I'll continue. We used K-fold cross-validation to ensure that the model weren't overfitting or underfitting, and we did hyperparameter tuning to improve the model further. We also experimented with model stratification and feature selection. The model was evaluated using a number of different measures and analytical methods. This chart here shows the predicted star rating values against the actual star rating values from some data we kept aside to trial it, to test it out. And the R-squared value of that is 0.81, so you can see that they're a reasonable alignment. The mean difference was 0.3 of a star, and the median difference was 0.2 of a star. And 90% of the predictions were within 0.7 of the actual value. As mentioned, developing RapidRate has been an iterative process, and so future work plans include we'll retrain the RapidRate model as further NatHERS certificate data comes into the database so that there's more information. We'll also look at enhancing its ability to rate older dwellings. The training data is mainly from newer houses, and we want to make sure that that's still the model can be used to rate older houses as well. And we're also looking at this model just does the thermal energy modelling, works out heating and cooling and star rating. We're looking at extending it to include some modules that will rate the fixed appliances, including lighting, solar PV, and hot water, maybe. So next, on to using RapidRate. RapidRate is good for using when the data available is limited, and when a quick rating is needed, and where special expertise is not needed to do it. An API can connect the models to whatever interface or system needs to use it, and RapidRate can do individual dwelling ratings or multiple dwelling ratings. It's likely that CSIRO will find a commercial partner to distribute RapidRate and the data that it generates. CSIRO are not really in a position to service multiple customers, and so we feel that we need a distributor. Our main aim is impact, and so we'll be ensuring that our distributor can make the data and the tool available to others as much as possible. this is a bit of an intense page, but when thinking about uses for rapid rate, there are two sort of ways to consider it. First of all, there's using the data that comes from someone having cranked the handle and generated some outputs. And there's also using the rapid rate tool itself. So you might wish to use the tool yourself with your own input data to generate ratings, or you might be interested in accessing the data that's been output from a third party. So some of the uses for rapid rate is that you could use it to inform property valuations, and so add that energy efficiency aspect to it to increase the information going into a valuation. It can be used to enrich housing data for housing data providers and real estate agents. This data can be used to support and empower consumer choice for buyers and renters. It could form part of a voluntary or mandatory disclosure scheme where when a house is being sold or rented out, it's necessary to display the energy efficiency qualities of that house. And the government's working on a scheme at the moment. It can be used then to inform energy efficient building design and upgrades. Builders, designers and homeowners could use it in that way. Also, it could be used in financing renovations and to inform green loans. It could also be used in finance and insurance to manage exposure to climate risks that housing experiences, and also for social and community housing asset management. Rapid rate could be used to inform policy and other measures for improving housing stock energy efficiency, by whether it be government, research or industry. Basically, wherever information about energy efficiency of housing and homes is sought, rapid rate is a possible solution to that. So rapid rate can help fill the gap in housing energy information. It can help people become more aware of the energy efficiency aspects of homes and the benefits it brings. And it can help influence change towards housing which is cheaper to operate, more comfortable and healthy, and has a lower impact on our environment. Thanks very much for listening to me. And if you've got any questions or want to know any more about rapid rate, please contact me. My email address is up there. Or come to the Environment and Sustainability Roundtable this afternoon. I'm going to be joining Cecile at that. You, the Proptech community, hold a lot of knowledge in this space, and I'm really interested to know your thoughts about this. We'd like to know how you rate the importance of energy efficiency data and how you might use it. So I hope that I might hear from some of you. Thank you.